The desert is perhaps the deadliest biome on Earth to human beings, and for very good reason. Our bodies were not meant to survive through intense heat and lack of water, and both of those things are what the desert is known for. That, paired with the endless expanses of sand as far as the eye can see, leaves many humans feeling hopeless when trapped within the desert. Despite this, many people brave the odds and head out in search of the mysterious things that end up within the desert, which are untouched by humans for sometimes hundreds of years. Here are 15 of the most mysterious things found in the desert. Number 15. Whalebone graveyard without water nearby. Nobody here would be surprised to be told that whales generally live within the ocean. That's kind of the whole thing. They are the largest mammals in the world, but are unable to exist on land due to their massive scale and therefore evolved to exist within the water, where it's easier to support their massive bodies. That's just the thing though, whales evolved from a mammal that used to live on land, and because of this, there are fossils of whale-like creatures in places where they absolutely aren't supposed to be. That includes the deserts of Egypt, where massive skeletons have been found in the sand that bear all the features of our favorite ocean-dwelling mammals. This is paired with the fact that some other sections of these deserts used to be completely submerged in the ocean, and therefore the animals had easy access to the water. This is likely what allowed them to eventually evolve into ocean-dwelling creatures rather than staying up onto land, where their size would have eventually been limited. Number 14. Fake Prada store in the middle of nowhere. Prada is a brand that has recently been experiencing plenty of success. Their products are known for being relatively high quality, and they have that odd brand perception that some companies receive over time, like Supreme and Apple. It's sort of like the consumers go to bat for the company because they put so much money into their products and they can't fathom other people not liking them. Either way, that's not the point of this entry. The point is that there was a Prada store found in the middle of the desert, completely abandoned with nobody inside. People first began to notice it a couple years ago, though it's actually been at that location since 2005. The store was created as an art exhibit by artists Elm Green and Dragset and is titled Prada Marfa. It showcases real Prada handbags and shoes inside from the 2005 collection, which have, crazily enough, not been stolen yet. It's an incredibly interesting exhibit, and many treat it as a must-stop when driving through the massive state of Texas. Before we go on, do like this video, smash that subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face while you're sleeping. It's time for today's subscriber pick. This photograph was sent in by a father and son who happened to stumble upon this bizarre-looking corpse in the middle of the desert, where they began taking measurements immediately. They figured that it could possibly be the corpse of a baby dragon, which would be the first scientific discovery of its kind. Unfortunately, when they went to get their truck in order to haul the body back, it had disappeared without a trace. Was it actually dead to begin with, or was it just pretending? It certainly seems dead in the photograph, but we don't exactly know much about dragon biology, so there could always be something sneaky about them that we haven't figured out yet. Do you think that this photo shows the body of a dragon, or do you think that it's likely belonged to something else? Remember to comment down below with the hashtag subscriberpick and let us know what you think. Now, on to the next topic. Number 13. Alien desert cones made of smooth sand. Upon seeing this footage, many people immediately jump to the conclusion that these structures are not natural and that they must have been created by aliens. The sand looks much too smooth to ever be made by anything human, and the crystal pools of water provide such an eerie appearance that most don't like to think about what could have created them. Well, unfortunately for the skeptics, these cones and pools weren't created by aliens, but rather an incredibly talented group of artists known as DAST. The work of art is known as Desert Breath, and is a spiraling concentric work that radiates out from a central point with arms comprised of these cones. When asked why the artists created this work of art, they stated that it was meant to suggest an experience of infinity with the desert as a landscape of the mind. Despite having been constructed 2 years ago and degrading over time, the art piece is still clearly visible, and now it is often used as a way to measure the passage of time. Number 12. Ancient Egyptian necropolis with buried treasure. Egypt is home to some of the most mysterious phenomena in the world, and the recent discovery of a new necropolis just adds to its mythos. Egyptian archaeologists recently discovered more than 80 sealed coffins on Monday in the ancient city of Saqqara, which is a burial ground also home to one of the world's oldest pyramids. These 80 coffins were in addition to 59 sarcophagi that they'd found in the same location only a few days prior. In the photos and videos released by the authorities on the project, the discovery showcases a finely painting sarcophagi as well as a collection of colored and gilded wooden statues. The coffins appear to be around 2,500 years old and have not been opened since they were originally closed by the ancient Egyptians. This would mean that these sarcophagi were sealed during Egypt's 26th dynasty, and although researchers will probably open them sooner or later, it is astonishing how much marvelous things manage to remain hidden in these eras of exploration by modern humans. Number 11. Cadillac Ranch of buried cars. What would you do if you were driving along one of the longest, dustiest roads in the world and on the side of the road you began to see cars half buried in the sand? That's what many people experience every year as they're driving along Route 66 and stumble upon what can only be referred to as the Cadillac Ranch. It's a massive field of half-buried Cadillacs standing up in the air, with most of them having been graffitied on over time. It took a while for people to figure out what had installed this structure, but it was eventually traced back to a group of artists known as the Ant Farm. Their silent partner was billionaire Stanley March, as he wanted a piece of public art that would sufficiently baffle the locals when they drove past it. This field of cars has certainly done just that. The cars are buried at the same angle as the pyramids of Giza and far west in a line. They range from 1949 to 1963, demonstrating the evolution of the tail fin of the Cadillac over time. Number 10. Gafsa Beach, the lake that suddenly appeared. Gafsa Beach is the beach of a mysterious lake present within the town of Gafsa in Tunisia. The lake, also aptly named Lake Gafsa, did not exist for a majority of the town's history. In 2014, however, it appeared suddenly and unexpectedly alongside the Lars Road, 25 kilometers from the town of the same name. The origin and formation of the lake are not understood despite many years of scientific research, though. The most likely explanation is that a minor earthquake ruptured the rock above the water table and sent millions of cubic meters of water up to the surface. When the lake was first discovered, many people in the region believed that it was an act of God. It became a curiosity for the locals, and they immediately began to swim and enjoy themselves in the cool waters. It became a tourist sensation overnight, as many people loved the idea of a lake that appeared out of nowhere. Although there is no ban from swimming within the lake, the waters have been discovered to be minorly radioactive. It doesn't appear to be at unsafe levels, though there very well may be a warning sign put up in the near future. Number 9. Massive outline of man predating people? The Mari Man, also known as Stewart's Giant, is a modern geoglyph that was discovered in the year 1998. It seems to depict an indigenous human man hunting with a boomerang or a stick. It lies on the plateau at Finnis Springs, which is around 40 miles outside the township of Mari in central South Australia. Shortly after its discovery, the site was closed by the South Australian government following legal action taken by native title claimants. Flights over the site, however, were not forbidden as native title fell under the federal government jurisdiction. The Mari Man is one of the largest geoglyphs in the world, only possibly second to the Sajama lines. Its origin, however, remains a mystery, with nobody having claimed responsibility for its creation and no eyewitnesses having been found. The lines composing the figure were up to a foot deep, but over the years it has degraded due to erosion of the surrounding sand. The figure was hardly visible in 2013, but in 2016 work was done to redefine it. Despite there being very little information as to who created this geoglyph, it still showcases an incredible amount of work and dedication that was put in to complete it. Number 8. The creepiest motel in the country. Everyone has something that terrifies them. Strangely enough, one of the most common fears throughout the world is the fear of clowns. Many believe it stems from a dislike of the uncanny valley, though that hasn't necessarily been proven. Despite this, the Clown Motel in Tonopah, Nevada is widely believed to be one of the creepiest motels in the world, and many people refuse to stay there even though it's the only option around for miles. The Clown Motel is located along North Main Street in Tonopah and is even located adjacent to the Tonopah Cemetery, where the father of the original owners is buried. Many people find this to be incredibly creepy and have claimed that the motel is haunted by the many restless spirits in the cemetery. The motel has 31 rooms and was opened in 1985 by Leroy and Leona David in honor of their late father, Clarence David. His collection of over 150 clown statues was used to decorate the property. They eventually sold the motel for a tidy sum, and throughout the years, more clown memorabilia has been added. There are now more than 2,000 pieces of clown merchandise around the motel. Number 7. Forest where all trees are stone. Many people may have heard about the Petrified Forest because it's actually been declared a national park by the United States government. It is located in Navajo and Apache counties in northeastern Arizona and is named for its massive deposits of petrified wood. The park covers about 350 square miles and encompasses semi-desert steeps as well as highly eroded, colorful badlands. The Petrified Forest is famous for its fossils, especially those taken from the fallen trees that lived in the late Triassic epoch, roughly 225 million years ago. When the trees fell, they were buried periodically in sediment containing volcanic ash. Groundwater dissolved the silica within the ash and carried it into the logs, where it formed quartz crystals to replace the organic cells within the trees. This results in a fossil that looks exactly like normal wood or log, but is hard as stone and shatters like it as well. It's an incredibly interesting phenomenon, and seeing an entire forest become stone is very unusual. Number 6. Brand new fighter jets found buried. The Gulf War was a brutal, terrible time for the people within both Iraq and the United States. The USA was the more military-capable nation, but the Iraqi soldiers weren't incompetent either. One aspect where the U.S. did have an almost complete monopoly, however, was within the skies. Saddam Hussein knew that his country would not be able to beat the USA in the air, where they had better aircraft, and more men willing and trained to fly. Therefore, he ordered many of the government's planes to be buried in the desert. Nobody is exactly sure why he ordered that, or how many planes were actually buried, but it was more than just a couple. The official reports don't include numbers, but just from the photographs it appears to be more than 10 in total. These weren't old planes either. They were fairly state-of-the-art for the Iraqi military, and just burying them in the sand was a massive financial loss. The refusal to fight in the air might have been a contributing factor to eventually catching Saddam Hussein. Number 5. King Tut's desert glass, made before glass was invented? The uncovering of the tomb of King Tutankhamun was an important time for many reasons, and the valuables found inside put nearly every other previous tomb to shame. One of the least understood pieces found within it, however, was nothing more than a small pendant that he would have worn across his chest. There was a large jewel situated in the middle of it, which the archaeologists actually couldn't identify in the beginning. Later on, however, they finally identified it when similar gems were found sitting in the sand in the desert. It was a type of glass, and yet glass had not been invented at this time, and there was no evidence that the Egyptians were able to make it. This was an incredibly strange find, as it could have changed the way we thought about the civilization. What was actually found, however, was that the glass was created when lightning struck sand, superheating it very quickly and forcing the particulates to melt into glass. This was an incredible find, and the Egyptians likely had no idea how it was created, simply thinking it was some sort of incredibly rare mineral. Number 4. Fairy circles with no explanation. The fairy circles present within the Namib Desert are an incredible phenomenon that have been studied for a very long time, and yet they are still mostly misunderstood. They are large bare circles formed within the desert without vegetation, where the rest of the land around them typically is covered in small green shrubs and dry grasses that populate the area. There have been several proposed theories as to what has caused them, but generally they're a topic of heavy debate and conspiracy. Some believe that they were caused by the landing of alien ships, while others believe it's merely some odd land formation that people haven't figured out yet, and more still believe that they could be formed by ice sheets forming during the cold nights. The size of the circles varies from 3 to 20 meters in diameter, and they've been known to last over 70 years before being taken over by the surrounding greenery once again. Number 3. Strange carvings from prehistoric times. Petroglyphs are fairly common throughout the world, as they were the way that early humans were able to tell their stories or convey the creativity that they were feeling. These particular petroglyphs are the oldest known in North America and have been dated from 10 to 15,000 years ago. They are carved deep into the walls of rocks at Winnemucca Lake in Nevada and look somewhat akin to abstract art. They are mostly a series of wavy lines, diamonds, and other shapes linked together. An expert has said, "We have no idea what they mean, but I think they are absolutely beautiful symbols." There are few petroglyphs in the American Southwest that are as deeply carved as these, and few have the same sense of size. These are some of the largest petroglyphs of this type ever discovered, and that has led to many experts scratching their heads as to what they possibly could mean. Number 2. Mojave Desert's lonely phone booth. The Mojave phone booth is a lone telephone booth in what is known as the Mojave National Preserve in California. It attracted lots of attention in the late 90s for its unusual location, being located at the intersection of two dirt roads in a very remote part of the Mojave Desert. It's more than 10 miles away from the nearest paved road and miles away from any buildings. The phone booth was originally set up in 1948 to provide telephone service to local volcanic cinder miners and other miners living in the area at the time. It likely replaced a booth located around 30 miles to the south, and the original hand-cranked magnetophone was replaced by the payphone in the 1960s. Unfortunately, the phone booth has since been removed by Pacific Bell in May of 2000 at the request of the National Park Service. Instead, a headstone-like plaque was placed in its former location commemorating what had once been. Number 1. Abandoned ghost town in the middle of nowhere. Kolmanskop is a ghost town located in southern Namibia, 10 kilometers inland from the port town of Luderitz. It was named after a transport driver named Johnny Coleman who, during a sandstorm, abandoned his ox-driven wagon on a small incline opposite to the settlement. It was once a very small but very rich mining village where the De Beers operated to mine diamonds. Now, however, it has been abandoned and stands as a ghost town. Despite this, it has actually gained a bit of popularity as a tourist destination and is still maintained by the De Beers in an effort to profit off of tourism. The town only really went into a decline during World War I, which was when the diamond fields began to dry up and when many of the miners went off to serve. The death sentence for the town was when the richest diamond-bearing deposits ever known were discovered around 300 kilometers south, and all of the miners left in a hurry in the hope to make a profit. So tell us, which of these things do you think are the most mysterious? Do you think anybody will ever be able to understand what these things are? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you're always notified of our new videos. That shows us that you like this kind of content and allows us to keep making more videos for you. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.